Hope you guys are all doing well and welcome back to the channel. About a year ago, I bought my Leica M6 and I know people love to romanticize this camera, but after actually owning it for a year, buying it, servicing it, shooting my first roll, using it for work and taking it on trips, I want to give you guys my honest 1 year update. What changed, what didn't, whether it's actually worth living with the decision I made. So let's get into it. I initially wanted a camera that I'd actually carry, not something that sits on a shelf, and I wanted it to be something simple. I've been a big advocate of film photography as something that slows you down in a good way and it makes you shoot with a purpose, and my Hasselblad has been that, but I wanted something a little smaller. And the Leica M6 is one of those cameras where I know everybody has an opinion on, so I figured let's do a real test, a full year, real shoots, real trips, and real results. So let's start at the very beginning with the buying process. Now, buying a Leica M6 can be a very personal experience. Again, you do have the option to go to the Leica store and buy a brand new one. But if you're looking for a vintage model, something with character, something maybe with a birth year, it's definitely worth shopping around, and there are so many different options with different color layouts and button styles and variations that it can be an incredible journey to get to. I, like most, went on the hunt, and after months and months of looking, I found this one. I bought it through Tim Lay, and the whole process felt very personal. It was very, very easy communications, and everybody in this community really does care about the gear and the lenses, especially the lenses. So the lens I chose to get was the 35mm Summicron V4, and I actually do have an entire video on buying this lens, so I'll link it up above. But I bought it on a trip to Montreal, and that was the first thing I actually bought, was the lens, and then I finally found the camera to match. Shout out to my friend Ken. He has this exact same lens, and I came to love it through using his camera and the occasional pictures that I took with it. This is the setup, and for me, the 35mm on the M6 just makes sense. It's wide enough to tell the whole story. It's small enough to be extremely portable. It's tight enough that you can take very intimate portraits as well, and it worked great for street stuff, travel, everyday moments, and especially the portraits, they're not too tight. It's basically the focal length I keep coming back to when I shoot, and it's something that I don't overthink when using. Now, let's get into the next part, and I know oftentimes people skip this when they talk about owning an M6, but that's the servicing. Now, like everybody else, I got a mint of a camera as I could. I have a full unboxing video linked above. You guys can watch it with the box, the paperwork, everything. But in reality, I think that everybody should get their camera serviced once they receive it. So I actually got mine serviced in New York. We went to the Leica store and gallery. Me and Ken took a road trip down there. And again, huge shout out to Kat for helping us, and a huge shout out to Sire and Rob. Everybody at that store is incredible. And yeah, if you guys are in New York, definitely check out the store and say hi to the homies. But seriously, this experience was extremely easy. They were professional all the way through. It felt very reassuring to go through that process with them, through the paperwork, and being confident that I can ship the camera with them without having any issues. Now, service isn't just optional when you own a camera like this. I think it's part of the experience, but you do have to be careful with them. They are tools, and you do have to maintain them even if you trust them with everything. I had shot one roll at Ken's house before I sent out the camera for servicing in CLA. I'll share some of those first images with you guys here. Roll of Kodak Gold, scanned them all myself, and I love these. Again, they were my first test roll, but when I got this camera back 6-7 months later from Leica, the camera was so smooth. I was so excited to start shooting. It was on Christmas. Doesn't get any better than that as a Christmas gift to get your dream camera back. But yeah, I'm gonna show you guys some of my first images from the roll after servicing right over here. After a few months of patiently waiting, the camera and lens finally came back, and this was now my M6. Everything about this camera made me want to start going right away. I already had some work booked using this camera, and it was a extremely great change for me. I haven't shot rangefinders before, and the way I shoot has been different. I was used to shooting on my Hasselblad with a waist level finder or my DSLR, but haven't had a rangefinder before, and it was a whole new learning experience for me overall. Now, after that role, the Leica M6 that I now owned became the Leica M6 that I use, and I think that's a huge difference in owning a new camera. So let's talk about using this camera in real life, whether it's for work or for travel. For work, it replaces the digital camera here and there, but I have other clients that I book specifically for using 35mm film, and it's fast, it's reliable, and I get extremely beautiful images, of course, off this camera. Of course, the film adds a great touch, but the lens also is a huge part in the characteristics that you get out of your images. It really helps, I think, the clients connect more with the camera as well. Just because it's small, it makes them feel a little, it makes the clients feel a little less intruded on. So it definitely opens up for portraits, for candid moments, and the in-between frame, the time really just flies by, and it really does feel timeless, and you're just having a great conversation, and it doesn't feel like you're working, whether it's for the client or myself personally. Now for travel, this is where it really shines. There's no menus, there's no screen, there's absolutely no distractions. It has a shutter speed dial and an aperture. That's it. So I took this camera with me to Vancouver. I took this camera with me to Hong Kong, and this camera will be going with me to Japan. Possibly the only camera that I carry to Japan. So definitely stay tuned for a follow-up video in the next few months on that experience. Now, as I carry this camera more, it really does go to show how much thought went into this camera. It's technically perfect. It has everything I need in a camera, which is literally just shutter speed and aperture control, but it also does have a built-in light meter, and that's very important to me, and it also does have a hot shoe. So those were kind of my determining factors in choosing which Leica to buy. Let's talk about some film stocks. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't shot enough 35mm film yet to know which one's my absolute favorite. I do love shooting Portra 400, I know that, but I've also been shooting whatever's been in my fridge. I've been hoarding film for so long, so I've shot a multitude of films, whether it's new film stocks or some expired stuff, but I am really excited to try out Portra 800 in Japan. Now, Kodak makes some of my favorite films, but I'm really excited to try Portra 800 exclusively on this trip for everything from the landscapes, cityscapes, the low light, everything. I'm very, very excited to see the results from. So I want to know actually what your favorite film stock is. What have you guys been using recently? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll check out some of your Instagrams to see some of that work as well. 1 year in, here is what I love and what's hard. Now, of course, my favorite thing is its portability, its size. I mean, film just slows you down regardless of what you're shooting, but the 35mm lens is one of my absolute favorite parts of this entire setup. The camera, of course, is like a tank. It's extremely compact. It's so beautiful looking as well. I know I know on the internet, people make fun of the Leica shooters for taking pictures of their cameras more than they take pictures with their cameras, but it looks great, it produces incredible work, and if a tool makes you want to create more, gets you excited to shoot more, in which case this camera did. Now I have a bunch of other cameras and not many of them excite me as much as this to get out and shoot, and I think that's a very, very important thing to keep in mind. And so if that inspires you, then I think whatever camera it is you're looking at, you should pick up, because if you're gonna create more work with it, I think it's a worthy investment. Now, those are some of the great things about it, and here are some things that are not bad, but sometimes a little more difficult to justify. Now, the camera is not cheap. You've seen how much these cameras go for brand new. 2022, we had a new Leica M6 come out. Again, it's the same as the old one, just new stock. So I definitely think buying older vintage cameras, getting them serviced can be an economical option. And above that cost, you still have costs for servicing. That's a very, very big cost, especially if you're going directly through Leica. It's gonna cost a little bit. I definitely think it's 100% worth it, especially if you're a working professional. It's a worthy investment to do that way. Of course, it includes a warranty as well, so that's incredible. And film cost is negligible. That's all dependent on how much you shoot, but that's the same with any camera. So let's look back 1 year. If I could go back 1 year, here's what I tell myself owning this camera. Definitely budget for service from day one. That's something that I did take into consideration, especially talking with my friends. That was something that I was already ready to do directly from day one when I did purchase the camera. Now, I did save a little bit of money aside for that specifically, but might have been a little more than I had budgeted for, but I think that it still worked out and I think it was still worth doing. Other things to think about are lenses. If you're gonna buy a Leica lens, maybe try to find a focal length that you like and you really enjoy and stick to that for as long as possible unless you need to make a change, but that'll save you some money in the long run. Again, if you need other lenses, there's so many great companies out there making stuff. I'll put a bunch of links below to some of my favorites as well, so you guys can check that out. 1 year later, I don't just like the M6, I rely on it for a lot of the work I'm creating. It's made me more intentional in the street work that I'm creating. It's made me more intentional in the portraits that I'm taking in everyday life. It's given me a process that I actually enjoy, and I really, really do enjoy using this camera. Now, I can break down my exact setup, how I meter, how I shoot the 35 V4, and what I'm packing for in Japan, and how Portra 800 goes. So if you guys want to see all these other videos, definitely subscribe, drop a comment, let me know what you guys want to see next, and I'll work on that. Now, just to wrap up my thoughts, I want to leave you guys with this. A camera is just a tool. At the end of the day, like everything else, that's all it is. You're the one that gets creative, you're the one that has the vision, and you're the one that's going to be intentional with whatever tool you use. So if something makes you happy, if something makes you enjoy the process, if something makes you want to create more art and bring it out into the world, please do your best, save some money or put aside a little fund, get that thing that makes you excited, whether it's a camera or a metal detector or whatever it may be. Pursue your hobby, pursue your dreams, and always keep that alive. I'll leave you guys to enjoy a bunch of my favorite photos from last year, from my trip to Vancouver, to Hong Kong, some portraits that I did throughout the year, and some street work in New York. So thank you guys again for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my 1 year review of this camera. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys real soon in the next one. All right, now go enjoy this.